Hello, my name's Rob Mackay and I'm a senior lecturer in music at the University of Hull. I'm also a composer and sound artist. Today I'm going to be talking to you about our project Following the Flight of the Monarchs, which is an acoustic ecology project focused on the ecosystem of Cerro Pelon in central Mexico, which is one of 669 UNESCO biosphere reserves around the world. And it is also one of 4 protected monarch butterfly reserves, which the monarchs migrate 3,000 miles to from Canada each year for overwintering. It's brought together a team of scientists, artists, and technicians to install a stream box which broadcasts the sounds of the mountain forest in real time via the Locus Sonus sound map. So my own involvement with monarch butterflies goes back to 2015 when I visited the El Rosario Reserve whilst on a residency at CMAS, which is the Mexican Center for Music and Sonic Arts. At El Rosario, I filmed and recorded the sounds of the monarch butterflies and their habitat. Actually, because the monarchs swarm in their millions, you can clearly hear the rushing of their tiny wings. The installation itself is an immersive audio-visual installation combining 4 screens, including a top screen, and also 4 loudspeakers to immerse the listener. The idea of the installation is that it's a wooden structure designed a little bit like a hide in a forest to transport you to that forest in central Mexico, looking out at the monarch butterflies. The sound for the installation is made up of 3 components. The first layer is field recordings of that environment, including the rushing of the monarch butterfly's wings. The second component is a specially commissioned poem from Rolando Rodriguez, who's a Mexican poet. And finally, a musical layer, which is based upon an improvisation between myself on flute, David Blink on handpan, and John Sanders on accordion. We've toured the installation around several locations, including New York and the Eden Project. So through my involvement with monarch butterflies, I was put in touch with monarch specialist Pablo Jaramillo Lopez, who's based at UNAM in Mexico. And we started a collaboration with the UK organisation SoundCamp, who specialise in live streaming of soundscapes, and also Leah Barclay, who heads the UNESCO Biosphere Soundscapes project, which is a project engaging with the UNESCO biosphere reserves around the world, using sound as a form of environmental monitoring and also through creative engagement as a catalyst for change. And the idea of that project is to monitor change in the environments over time through sound. The latest iteration of that is the Biome project, again between SoundCamp and Leah Barclay, where they are starting to install stream boxes in those different UNESCO reserves for live streaming of the soundscapes. And since Cerro Pelon is a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, that fits squarely into that project. We've also been collaborating further with David Blink, who's now based at the College of the Siskiyou in California, and actually is also on the migratory path of some monarch butterflies. And also, we've been collaborating with the Butterflies and Their People Arborist Scheme. And this is a scheme based in Cerro Pelon, which employs local people as stewards to the forest. These are paid roles, and the region actually has quite low employment, and there is a lot of logging in the area. And what this scheme is trying to do is to build a sustainable economic model by employing people as stewards of the monarch butterfly reserve. And in November last year, I was lucky enough to meet Lincoln Brower, who's really the world-leading authority on monarch butterflies, who's been working particularly in Mexico since the early 1970s, studying the behavior of the monarch butterflies. And he described to me this mass flight response of overwintering monarch butterflies in response to solar radiation. Essentially, monarch butterflies' metabolisms are very sensitive to changes in temperature, and in fact they can only fly in direct sunlight. So as they overwinter in Mexico, on cloudy days they huddle together to keep warm in these huge clumps underneath the oyamel trees, which only grow above 10,700 feet. Now, when there are openings in the clouds and they soak up enough sunlight, they are able then to start flying en masse further down the mountain to a meadow where they can drink water and also nectar from flowers. And upon talking to Lincoln a little bit further, I asked if sound might be a useful way to monitor that behaviour, since you can clearly hear the rushing of those millions of tiny wings, and he thought that could be an interesting idea to try out. So I went over to Cerro Pelon with Pablo and also David Blink and a number of other collaborators in January of this year. When we got to Cerro Pelon, as well as installing the Streambox so that we could listen to the sounds of the environment in real time, I also made a number of recordings. And in the video that you're looking at, I'm using an ambisonic microphone called a soundfield microphone, which records the sounds in all directions for a spatially accurate representation of that soundscape. And you can see that I was managing to record quite a few monarch butterflies there. So now I'm going to play you two sound examples. The first sound example was recorded in this meadow before the monarch butterflies arrived. And now this recording in the same meadow, but filled with monarch butterflies. And hopefully there you could hear the difference and our aims for trying to use sound potentially for monitoring the monarch's behaviour purely by listening out for that rushing sound of their wings. Moving on to the live streaming aspect of the project, this is a picture of the Locust Sonus sound map, which is a worldwide open microphone network set up in 2006 and hosted in France. And you can see several points on that map which represent stream boxes around the world that you can click on at any time and listen in real time to that environment. So our aim was to be able to stream live onto that sound map. Obviously there were a few hurdles to cross. We needed to get a very heavy solar batteries along with the solar panels and Streambox up the mountain. We were able to take it up part of the way on horseback and then the rest of the way on different people's shoulders, mainly the shoulders of the arborists, I have to say. So before going up the mountain, we had a trial in the car in an area where we knew that we had some 4G coverage, and we were able to communicate with Grant Smith at Sound Camp in real time across the Atlantic using WhatsApp. And this is our rather elated faces as we realised we'd managed to make a successful connection. So just to prove it, we can see the stream point there in Cerro Pelon on the Locust Sonus sound map. And this is the Streambox solar battery and panel on the side of the mountain here. So the Streambox itself is made up of a Raspberry Pi microprocessor along with a preamp and two omnidirectional microphones, as well as a 4G router. And then that is in turn linked to a charge controller and the solar battery and solar panel. You can also see now the view from that mountain top looking out. So once the live stream was set up, we were able to share it with a number of people, including Monarch Watch, which is a group of over 800 people. Pablo also shared a recording that I'd made off the stream with colleagues at UNAM, Jorge Chenube Friedwald, Adrian Queja Madrigal, and Elsa Maya Elizarias. And I'm going to play you a little bit of that recording now. You may be able to identify a number of these species that you can see listed, which includes predators of the monarch butterflies. And so our next plans for developing the project further are to install stream boxes across the full migratory routes between Canada and Mexico. And this will be liaising with our contacts in Texas, California, Virginia, and Canada. So we're actually putting together funding applications now to be able to monitor that full migratory route. Another development will be a citizen science aspect. We're working with Leah Barclay and her Orality app, which allows augmented reality sound walks and also live streaming of locations from around the world. So people will be able to tune into the live stream using that app. And we are also looking to collaborate with Dan Stowell and his Warbler app, which uses machine listening for bird identification. One of the issues with live streaming of soundscapes rather than small captured recordings is that you have the big data issue. So incorporating a number of volunteers to tune into the stream at different times will be a great help for moving this project forward. Finally, thanks for listening. I believe hopefully there should be some time for a couple of questions. Thanks.